Assalamualaikum and hello, my name is Shafika Abdullah. So for the part 1, where we have to construct appropriate graph or charts to compare the relative frequency and cumulative relative frequency between the two key metrics. So before I construct them, I have to find what the RF and the CRF of customer satisfaction and customer retention. So to calculate the relative frequency by dividing each class frequency by the total of 30. As example here, for the class interval 70 and 75, the frequency are 2, so I have to divide it by the total of 30 and I will get 0.067 of the relative frequency. And it goes the same for the customer retention. So from satisfaction here, we can see that the highest value are in the range of 80 to 90% range. 80 to 90 class interval range, where the relative frequency is 0.267, indicating that the customer generally are quite satisfied. For the customer retention here, the highest frequency are in the class of 75 until 80, which is 0.300, which shows that more customers fall in the lower to mid-range of retention. And for the CRF, I take the RF, which is 0.067 multiplied by 100, and you will get 6.67. After that, you will take that amount plus with 23.3, and you will get 30, and you do the same to the rest of the class. So after I already found what the RF for the two key metrics, now I can do the comparison by using the histogram bar. So on the left, customer satisfaction shows a symmetric distribution where the highest bar are in the middle intervals, as you can see here, and the left and right side, they mirror each other. So this shows that satisfaction levels are fairly balanced, with most response falling in the 80 to 90 range. Right, customer retention, they show a positively skewed distribution, which means the data has a long tail to the right. So this tells us that most customers have lower to mid retention rates, while fewer customers are retained at higher percentage. Now the comparison of CRF between the two key metrics. So the orange line here, it represents the customer retention. So it shows that it rises sharply at the beginning and then flattens. So it shows that a large portion of customers are retained at lower levels. Meanwhile, the blue line represents the customer satisfaction, which rises more steady and gradually. So this pattern in Ogive here confirm what we saw earlier at the histogram before, which satisfaction is spread out while retention is heavily concentrated in the lower intervals. In summary, the customer satisfaction is consistently high and symmetrically distributed, such as that customers are pleased. Meanwhile, customer retention, they are positively skewed, show that many customers are satisfied, but not all the satisfied customers stay loyal. So there's a connection between histogram and Ogive. So it shows that histogram show how much in each class, meanwhile Ogive show how much so far up to each class. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera to Dr. Saizal. My name is Norini Wintiasmang. My matrix number BB231609646. I will be presenting part 2, which focuses on calculating and comparing measures of central location for two key metrics, customer satisfaction score, and which is CSS, and customer retention rate CRR. Three main measures we use are mean, median, and mode. So here's the formula where you can see is mean, median, and mode that I used to get the answer. Let's start with the mean. I calculate the average score for each metric by assuming all values and dividing the numbers of the observation, which is 30, and for the result for customer satisfaction is 84.23%, and for the customer retention, the mean is 74.07. This shows that on average, customer satisfaction about 10% higher than retention. Next, we have the median, which represents the middle value of a sorted dataset. The median CSS, which is customer satisfaction score, is 85%, while the median CRR is 74%. As you can see the schedule that I prepared, the position 15 and 16 is the same number and not the odd numbers, so we don't have to divide it by 2. And this support the earlier finding that customer satisfaction levels tend to be higher overall. Lastly, the mode identifies the most frequently occurring values. For customer satisfaction score, the modes are 88 and 85%, while the customer retention rate, the modes are 80 and 68%. This indicates that while both metrics have some variability, satisfaction score are generally clustered at higher percentages. In conclusion, all the central measures, which is mean, median, and mode, show that customer satisfaction consistently higher than customer retention rate, and this could suggest that while customers are happy, other factors may be affecting their loyalty or repeat behavior. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Bartolomeus Agustin with number matrix BB2311075, and now I will continue to present the part 3, which is calculate percentiles and construct box plot for each of the 2 key metrics. So this is the formula that we use to find the quartile 1, 2, and 3, and also for the outliers, which is lower outliers, higher outliers, and the IQR. So this is the calculation part, which we find the quartile 1, 2, and 3 for both of the key metrics. So this is the data that we got. So after getting the data, which is the minimum, the quartile 1, 2, and 3, and the maximum for both of the key metrics. So this is the plot that I did, and this is the box plot. So this is the calculation to find the outliers. So after the calculation, we assume that there is no outliers for both of the key metrics, and this shows that the data are consistent and within a normal range. So there is no extreme behavior in the data. So as a conclusion, based on the five number summaries in the box plot, for both of the key metrics, the data is consistent and balanced. So there are no outliers in the data sets, and this means that the customer behavior is stable where there are no extreme value. So this make the data reliable and shows that customer response follow a clear pattern. So the nearly symmetrical distribution also mean that most of the customer have similar levels of satisfaction and retention. So this making the data useful for marketing strategies. And for the for the skewness of the data, for the customer satisfaction score, the negative skewness values indicates left skew distribution. So this means that while most of customer satisfaction scores are high, there are some lower scores that pull the mean slightly below the median. So this suggests that a small group of customers may be less satisfied than the majority. So for the customer retention rate, the skewness is close to 0, which indicates that the data is approximately symmetrical. So this means that the mean and the median are almost equal. This shows that most of the customer retention rates are evenly distributed without significant lean toward high or low values. So this is the presentation for me for this part. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and hello Dr. Saizal. My name is Awangpu Faiz bin Awangpu Jamil, and my metric number is BB231103994, and I will continue to present the part 4, which is calculate and compare measure of dispersion between the two key metrics. So in this part, we'll calculate the range, mean absolute deviation, which is MAD, variance, standard deviation, and lastly is coefficient of variation, which is CV. So the goal is to compare customer satisfaction score and customer retention rates using these measures. So let's begin with the first one, is range. So the range is found by subtracting the lowest value from the highest value. So the formula is range equals to the maximum value minus by minimum value. So for the customer satisfaction score, which is the maximum value is 93 and minus the minimum value, which is 70, equals to 23. And then for the customer retention rate, the maximum value is 88 and minus the minimum value, which is 60, equals to 28. So we're moving on to the second, which is mean absolute deviation, which is MAD. So MAD shows how much each data point differs from the average. So the formula for the MAD is equals to the sum of absolute differences between each value and the mean divided by the total number of value. So the calculation is too long, but I already showed on it, which is for the customer satisfaction score, 146.54 divided by 30 equals to 5.88, and the customer retention rate, 172.14 divided by 30 equals to 5.74. So that's all for the MAD. So we are moving on to the third, which is variance and standard deviation. So the variance measure how spread out the data is. So the formula is the variance equals to the sum of squared difference between each value and the mean divided by the total number of values minus 1. And for the standard deviation is the square root of the variance lah, showing the average distance of each data point from the mean. So for the customer satisfaction score, the variance is 35.98 and the standard deviation is 6.00. And for the customer retention rate, the variance is 49.17 and the standard deviation is 7.01. So we're moving on to the last, which is the coefficient of variation, CV. So the CV is measure the relative variability. So the formula is CV equals to the standard deviation divided by the mean. So for the customer satisfaction score, 6.00 divided by the 84.23 equals to the 0.07. And for the customer retention rate, this 7.01 divided by 74.07 equals to 0.09. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nurul Fatia binti Muhammad Amin. My metric number BB23160934. So I will present part 5, measures of association between customer satisfaction score and customer retention rate. So to find out if there is a relationship between these two variables, we use two methods, which is covariance and correlation coefficient. So this is the formula. We calculate the covariance first. So covariance is help us to see whether the two variables move together. So if they increase or decrease at the same time, the covariance will be positive. The total 1154.58 divided by 30 minus 1. So we get 39.81 for covariance. Next is we calculate the correlation, which correlation tells us how strong and what kind of relationship exists between the two variables. So this is the formula and how to find out the correlation. R equal to 39.81 and then divided by standard deviation that we calculate from previous part, which is 6 times to 7.01, and then we get 39.81 divided by 42.06, and then the total is 0.95. The total we get shows a strong positive relationship between the two variables. It means when customer satisfaction increase, customer retention also increase. So the companies with higher satisfaction scores usually keep more of their customers. And this is the scatter plot. The points shows that companies with higher satisfaction tend to have a higher retention. So in conclusion, our analysis clearly shows that improving customer satisfaction can have a real and measurable impact on customer retention.